What's going on, guys? Welcome to Wisconsin. I am here with the Royal Enfield Scram 411, the new adventure crossover bike from Royal Enfield based off of the Himalayan. We are doing all sorts of riding today, over 300 miles in 2 days of pavement, gravel, twisty roads, city stuff, the whole gambit, everything this bike is made to do. So come along for my first impressions, as well as specs, details, and a little bit more information about the bike. All right, so as you can see, as it says on the nameplate, the Scram is based on Royal Enfield's extremely popular Himalayan 411. So it's got the same 411cc single. The changes are a 19-inch front end, as well as a Harris Performance Design chassis, ergonomics, styling changes. This thing comes in 5 colors. Basically, the ergonomics of how you sit are a little bit more forward, a little bit more aggressive over the Himalayan, just to kind of give you a little bit more playfulness on the street. It does take away from your ability to roll over objects off-road, but this is a scrambler. So the claim is that the Scram combines spirited agility on the street with the capability to tackle rugged roads. All right, guys, for just $5,099, y'all know I like cheap bikes, but let's put this claim to the test. Real quick before we get started, sorry about the audio. It's pretty hot in the vlog sections, and just due to a new audio recording device that I picked up for this trip, so apologies in advance.
Alright, what are you going to want to do with your $5,099 motorcycle? I bet a lot of you are going to ride it to work, especially one as handsome as this Scram 411. So, how does it do? Many of us, me included, have to do some highway stints to get to our place of employments, and oftentimes, especially in Texas, that means doing 70, 75, 80 miles an hour for extended periods of time, which is prohibitive on certain motorcycles. Your Groms, they don't do 70. But this bike is designed for the lifestyle of a young professional. That was said in the brief. And you better believe that commuting was a major consideration in the design of this motorcycle. So I think that there are a few things that make it a significantly better commuter than the Himalayan. And now, I haven't ridden the Himalayan, but they've walked me through a lot of these changes, and I've experienced the Scram myself now a lot. First thing first, it's a 5-speed. So you don't have 6 gears. So the gearing, if you're used to a 6-speed, is very different. First is relatively short, second, very long. A lot of that was for trail riding in mind. But all of your cruising is going to be done in 5th gear at highway speeds. And 5th gear often feels a lot more like an overdrive gear than it does a power gear. You'll do most of your work all the way up to 70 miles an hour in 4th gear before getting into 5th. Most of the acceleration done in 5th is pretty slow. That's another theme of commuting on this motorcycle, that it's slow. There's not a lot of power here. That's not surprising to anybody. And it's a really key element when we talk about its sportiness later in a twisted road section. But it doesn't come in the way for commuting. Now, there are times that I may jump up 20 miles an hour down a gear to get around people on other bikes, and you're not going to do that here. You have to be, if you've ridden small bikes, you're used to it. You have to be much more thoughtful, tactful about when, where, and how you pass. Let's see, we're navigating our way through traffic here as a pretty large group. I'll tell you what, though, the main components of riding this thing on the highway are really good. At 70 miles an hour, it doesn't feel over vibrational to a point where it's uncomfortable. There is vibration. The foot pegs, I noticed, vibrate a little bit. The mirrors get a little buzzy and blurry up at 70 miles an hour. So definitely worth the consideration, but it's not prohibitive. We've been now on this ride, we're on our way back to Milwaukee. We've been on this highway for hours. We've gone through a whole tank of gas, us all, refueled, and have continued on. Most of the time we weren't in traffic. It's just 5 o'clock here, going into the city. So yeah, it's a little bit busy now. But I'll tell you, Yeah, it's really impressed me. You can ride fifth gear all the way up to 80 miles an hour. Good luck going faster than 80 miles an hour, but the engine doesn't feel too stressed or out of sorts or unhappy. Yeah, totally does it. I've been on plenty of bikes. My CRF 250 is one that comes to mind that really are not enjoyable to sit on the highway for a long period of time. This bike, the way they've set up the gearing, it absolutely is. I don't enjoy that you can't get up to 100 miles an hour, but that's you know, you give and you get. You know, you can't have everything. Next thing on your ride to talk about with this first impression of this motorcycle is once we get into the city. Spoiler alert, that's where this bike excels. So I'm going to keep pounding this pavement, and I'll see you once we get into Milwaukee. Alright, look at that, a sports stadium. I have no idea who plays there. Somebody let me know. I've been told, about 3 miles from our destination, the Royal Enfield headquarters in Milwaukee. I have no idea. Somebody who knows what stadium that is might be able to tell me better. But we've been cruising through suburbs, towns, lots of stopping and going. As you can tell, this is a busy area. I think it's a fantastic test for city riding on this thing. Now, I'll say in a big group like this, your city riding is a little more constrained than on your own. We're really downtown. I think we'll get downtown here pretty soon. So some of the big things that make a bike great in an urban section, just being easy to ride. I think that the bikes that are a little bit trickier to ride and require a little bit more finesse, control over the inputs, they just lend themselves, especially when you're fresh on a bike, they're just a little harder to get around. Especially something, you know, think of a leader bike in a parking lot. Good Lord, it's just not all that fun. But you jump on a bike like this that will rev so low and has so much torque that you're not going to stall it. It's going to pull out of every gear. And it really makes it easy. Wow, my voice went so high right there. Clutch pull is super easy. Throttle's good. It's a slow, low power bike, so you can, I'm a little leaned over, just with the throttle. I mean, you can do it anywhere, you can do it everywhere. And the bike's not going to be unhappy or out of sorts or anything like that. So it's kind of nice. As far as just a little Scram bike to bop around the city, go get lunch on. The accessories coming out for this thing are nuts. There's bags, there's hand guards that some of the models like that one have, highway protection or highway bars that another one of these bikes around me has. One of the things that makes this cool in the city, I think, is the look. I think that's one of the drawbacks to the Himalayan as a city bike, even though it's, you know, probably just as good in the city as this bike is. I think that this is such a handsome bike from Royal Enfield. You can really feel good riding around on it. You're not popping wheelies or anything like that, but it's a handsome bike. It comes in a bunch of colors. It's so easy to ride that you can kind of feel like a hero doing all kinds of like fun, like little things and just kind of having a good time on it. Just because it's so easy to use, and these big wide bars make it so easy to flick the bike around back and forth. So yeah, for that reason, I really like it in the city. This would be a fantastic town bike. For me, again, I'm a 5'8" rider. The ergonomic package could not be better for me. I love the position of my feet. I love the position of my hands and the reach to the bars. The seat is, they were telling us it's the first seat that they have pressure mapped. They showed us the pressure map of someone's tush in the seat, and they measured where it was, you know, pressing down on the most after a long ride. Biggest problem that I have with it, it is very comfortable, especially the first time when you sit on it. It's squishy, it's soft, it really holds your butt nicely. But one of the things I've struggled with, and especially I've been on this bike 5-6 hours now today, it really kind of pushes you forward, and it really makes it uncomfortable on my crotch. Maybe just a dude's issue. I don't know actually, but it does. I find myself standing up and adjusting my pants a lot because I'm pinching. I'm just getting, you know, it's just kind of getting me a little bit out of sorts. So not loving that bit about it. It's something that that I don't even notice in short stints. It's really when you get on the brakes after a section of highway riding or something like that that you notice it the most. So ergonomically, it feels really good. The bars and all the inputs give you the confidence that you need to ride the way that you want to in an urban environment. Maneuvering the bike, parking the bike, going through traffic. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep, that's Mark. Really got to find one of these we can get this bike boosted off of. I've been looking for a jump the whole time I've been riding this thing, and they haven't provided me with one. Yeah, so if you want a bike that is easy to ride, very affordable, looks good in the city, you can be proud of it, I think this is a fantastic option for doing things like commuting, street riding, two-up riding as well. Passenger seat, totally doable. There were a bunch of camera people out on the ride, we can probably show it, who are sitting on the backs of these bikes, hanging gimbals off, look at this bike here. There's a grab bar for your passenger the whole way around the thing. So it's clearly made for it, and the passenger foot pegs could not be bigger. So yeah, passenger riding, all the kind of city bopping around things, and it's so easy to ride. Yeah, it's a great bike for that job. I really enjoy it, and I really appreciate how handsome of a bike it is. I think the colors, because we only have 2 here, but there's 5, and they're really designed off of a lot of urban settings. We can show the style guides that they used, and the vision board-ish kind of things that they used to design the aesthetics of the colorways. One of the chicks on this ride was in charge of all of the colors, so it was really neat to be able to speak with her about the decisions and her favorites and our favorites, and especially even for bikes that aren't represented today. I really like the silvery charcoal, like that blue one up there. That comes with another variation instead of the blue. I think there's a red one, so it's like that shiny silver and red. I love the look of that one, but we don't have one out here today, so I'm on the white and red one. All right, that about wraps it up in the city. Before we get to the Twisted Road section, before we get to the gravel section, I want to take just a second to speak to some of the folks from Royal Enfield. We have the head of the entire adventure segment of Royal Enfield here with us on this ride. So, with no further ado, let's hear from Royal Enfield themselves.
Okay guys, pretty excited to introduce you to someone from the actual Royal Enfield team. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
My name is Adarsh. I work for Royal Enfield as a global brand lead for the adventure platform, so Scram that you see here, as well as the Himalayan, and a whole bunch of rides and experiences that we do all over the world.
I love that. And we just rode together 2 days for hundreds and hundreds of miles. That's one of my favorite things that I've picked up about Royal Enfield on this trip, is that you all ride. Leadership is all out here riding. And you've mentioned to me a few times about kind of the culture a little bit.
Yeah.
How does that fit into what made the Scram? Because you've talked to me a ton of times of how rider-focused this design was.
Yeah.
Taking the great bike, the Himalayan,
yeah,
and then making something for kind of a new rider a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think firstly, everyone at the company, right from the top, is very kind of rider focused. Everybody rides a lot.
Right.
In fact, just a couple of days back, we were up in the Himalayas, and really the top management were riding. So we spent a lot. Mark's here, the chief of design. So we spent a lot of time riding our bikes. The Scram that you see here, the starting point for the Scram has been the Himalayan. People have done some crazy stuff on it. Obviously, it came from the Himalayas. The idea was, how do we make a purpose-built Royal Enfield to kind of ride in the Himalayas. Right. So that was the Himalayan. Since then, people have gone on to explore the entire world. They've done a bunch of globe-trotting, exploration kind of stuff. In fact, we even took one Himalayan last year to the South Pole. So some really proper stuff has happened. And Scram's really born out of that. It's really got the same DNA. It's got the same chassis. So, the highest performance design chassis. Most scramblers in this price point they're largely aesthetic jobs. They have the long seat, the scrambler style seat, longish tank,
The tires.
on off-road
Yeah.
tires. This one, and most of those scramblers are also coming from road-going motorcycles. So so they're not technically that functional, that capable. On the other hand, the starting point for the Scram has been the Himalayan. So we've taken an adventure tourer and made a scrambler out of it. So it kind of retains the same chassis. It's got long travel suspension, really high ground clearance. It's a proper scrambler, so it looks the part. Obviously, our color trim and graphic team, our design team has done a splendid job.
Definitely.
But at the same time, you take it off-road, it really does the job. And the front 19, it kind of makes the whole bike really nimble. So, we've been riding for the last couple of days here, in and around Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
And you've seen the way I've been riding as well, having a lot of fun.
I know. So, changing direction is super easy.
Yeah.
But, when there's gravel, when there's off-road, it really comes into its own. It's a proper kind of ADV crossover. That's what we're calling it. It's not something that we've taken a street-going bike and tried to put on off-road tires and make it scrambler-ish.
Right.
It's a proper adventure sort of DNA to this, and we've kind of crossed it. So that's our ADV crossover, really.
I love that, and I can tell you from my experience, it works great on the street. Gravel handles totally fine. I'm excited to test out what you rode, how you rode this bike in your Himalayan trip.
Like I was saying, just a couple of days back, we were up in the Himalayas, on the other side of the world, and obviously you would expect that in the Himalayas you would see a lot of Himalayans, and we did.
Yeah.
But this was really the first season when we launched the Scram and a whole bunch of Scrams. So, for everybody who's going long distance riding, wanting to put on luggage, we have the Himalayan, but everybody who wants these cool colorways, doesn't really want to load up and stuff like that, just really wants to check out. So have fun on the week, kind of have hustle on the weekdays and have fun on the weekends, that kind of vibe. But at the same time, super capable, super functional. You can go off-road, you can go trail riding, you can, hit the campsites, but at the same time, use it every day, get from A to B, get your daily jobs done, and
Look cool doing it.
Look cool doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so last bit. From the Himalayan, when riding them, you personally, what's your favorite difference, your favorite change between them?
I think one of the things that we've changed is really the front, right? The front on the Scram is 19 and on the Himalayan is 21.
Yep.
What really that does is that it, changing directions is that much more easier. We haven't lost a whole lot of ground clearance, so it still kind of retains that. We've lost a chunk of weight on it, so about 6.5 kilos, whatever that is in pounds.
Yep.
So that kind of translates to the right feel. Depending on what I feel like, if I'm kind of on a multi-day tour and I have lots of luggage and stuff like that, obviously I'm going to pull out the Himalayan. But
Gotcha.
on an
Yep.
everyday basis, the Scram really does everything that I wanted to do. So back home where I ride, we've got bad roads just trying to get from A to B.
Yeah.
And there's a proper adventure, as you saw from Mark's presentation. So all that kind of stuff, look cool, go to the cafe, go to the office or whatever. Everyday use, it's absolutely perfect. And when you're hitting those trails just on the outskirts of a city or whatever, the Scram really comes into it. But when I want to go long distance and stuff like that, then obviously I choose the Himalayan. That's what I do.
You have both in your garage, don't you? Yeah, of course you do. Killer. Well, that leads me perfectly into you talking about the front end. The next section of the video is I want to discuss a little bit about the sporting characteristics of this bike. I had a blast on the twisted grid sections of the ride this week. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you appearing in the video and talking a little bit about this new exciting bike. Yeah, let's get to my favorite section, the sporting bit.
Thanks, Josh.
So those of you who are longtime fans of the channel know that I am in my element when I'm on a sport bike carving corners. That is what I have the most fun doing, and it's why Yam and I have so much fun on track as well. This bike, being a 400, does the one thing that you need it to do to have a lot of fun in twisty sections. It's confidence inspiring, it's planted, and the chassis just works. And that's probably the most important thing, and this bike actually taught that to me, that I can have a ton of fun on fast bikes with lots of power, or on beautiful bikes with really impressive brakes. But if the front end wobbles and that front wheel dances as you are leaned over on the bike, it doesn't hold its own against the rest of the segment in whatever segment it is.
chassis feels really good, I've got to say. It really does handle well. Going quick around big turns, it's fun, it's stable, which is surprising, because so many bikes fall short when you start to hustle them and you start to push the front end a little bit. It's bouncy, it's wondrous, but not this bike. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the weight of the bike or something like that, or just a good front end suspension, but it really does feel fine. You wish you had a little bit more power on engine, you wish you had a little bit more power on braking, but that's, you know, they built this bike for a very specific audience.
The best and most fun bikes to ride fast are the bikes that feel like they aren't out of sorts when you're pushing them at that limit. And the Scram 411 does that. It absolutely blew me away, because from a start, it does not take off in any impressive fashion. Going into a corner, it doesn't brake in any impressive fashion. But when you're leaned over, you're hanging off the bike a little bit, the bike is just sure and planted, and that's all you can ask from a little street bike that is plenty of fun to go and rip around on the weekends. A lot of that comes down to the chassis changes, and all of that really comes from the 21-inch down to the 19-inch. It's not a 17-inch front end like a sport bike, but it gives you everything that you need to get over the front wheel a little bit more, to feel what it's doing on the road, and the bike does the rest. If you're a beginner rider, this is not going to go teach you how to be a track warrior. That's not what the Scram is built for. But if you are getting into motorcycling like I am, where I knew I wanted to go fast and I wanted to have fun and I wanted to feel what it feels like to lean over, this is such a great option in the entry segment for a rider who has that bug. It's not going to blow your hair off. It's never going to scare you, but it is really, really good at doing the most important things when it comes to sport riding on twisty roads. We have a ton of good footage of me really ripping up in that group ride on the 411, and I rode with some properly fast dudes, and we were all having an absolute ball. So of every vlog section that I shot in today's video, the most impressive, bar none, was the sporting capabilities of the Scram.
What's up?
We're getting wound up and don't touch the brakes.
That's right.
No touching the brakes.
You got it. This thing's supposed to Scram. We rode about 3 or 4 miles of gravelly dirt roads yesterday, and then today they found us a beautiful little dirt road to come try our hand at scrambling these things. A lot of scrambler type bikes start life as a street bike, and then they put a kind of knobby tire on it or more textured tire in hopes that will help them tackle more terrain. What they do on this bike though is they take a Himalayan. So on this bike they take a Himalayan. Oh, I'm hitting rear wheel ABS, which is an ADV bike, and then they take that ADV bike, they adjust the frame just a little bit, so it puts you a little bit more over the front wheel, and yeah, but this platform is tried and true and really loved for adventure riding, especially in this middleweight or small bike category for the States. And so they took this and they're like, all right, well let's make it look a little bit more modern, more like your standard bike. Woo. And then now that we've got it looking more like a standard, I am not super comfortable on dirt. However, I'll tell you this bike really makes it pretty easy. This isn't hard stuff. The biggest thing I'd like to communicate in my dirt vlog on this bike is that further testing is needed. Any bike can do gravel dirt roads like this. This is very hard pack. There's traction. It's you don't need a super special bike, I think, to get down a road like this. However, this bike does make this road a lot more fun than I'd feel if I was on like a real street bike type of thing. I'm gonna say most of that kind of comes down to just the tires on this bike. I think that makes such a big difference. I'll show you the tires. They're definitely like pretty knobbly and okay, so I just got off dirt. Now to really wrap this up, I've ridden not a ton on dirt and a bit on gravel, and yeah, it totally does it. It's helpful, gives you just a little bit of assistance to tackle roads with limited traction. However, for the real rough road riding like this bike is claimed to be able to do, I don't know yet. Maybe if we get these in the Himalayas. I saw videos of dudes on people's phones, and we were sharing stories of them with this bike in the Himalayas, doing water crossings, doing hill climbs, like doing really, serious adventure bike stuff. And they didn't complain. I wasn't on the trip. I don't know if bikes broke. I don't know how the bike fared. And I'd love to, but I will tell you, if all you want to go do are gravel roads and just be able to get a few more places that you wouldn't feel comfortable on a hardcore street bike with hypersport tires on it and stuff like that, yeah, this absolutely helps you. I think a big part of this scrambler trend is very aesthetically motivated, which is cool. I mean, this bike comes in 5 different colorways. So yeah, I'm with it. I totally like this thing. It's totally easy to it kind of reminds me of like the Svartpill in a little bit, in a way that it's low stakes. You're not going to get yourself super out of sorts in low traction situations because you don't have the power to do that. You take a middleweight ADV bike like a T7 and you're on gravel and you whack the throttle open. Yeah, it must have been, yeah, you either better be really good or figure it out quick. This bike is not really that way. It'll really kind of baby you into learning how to slide. I'm excited to ride more Royal Enfield bikes, to do like some flat tracking type of stuff. Yeah, so does it scram? Totally scrams. Alright, you've heard my thoughts in pretty much most conditions where this bike was intended to be ridden. Takeaway on the dirt is that I need to do more testing. I'd love to go do a real true adventure ride on this. Take it over some rocks, take it into some big bumps and stuff like that and see how it fares. For the gravel stuff, for the mixed surface stuff, you're good. I think a lot of that comes down to the tires and then the ease and usability of this bike. It's very approachable, and that has been said to us time and time again, that this bike is accessible and approachable. And as far as dirt's concerned, I completely agree. Alright, so that's it. We've done the twisty roads, we've done dirt, we've done highway commuter style stuff. We had a lot of fun on this bike. Thank you so much, Royal Enfield, for having us out. I love your new bike. The Scram is a really cool option for beginner riders, for people who want a comfortable, easygoing bike that is affordable, easy to work on, easy to access, easy to live with. Yeah, I'm a fan. Thanks again for watching. See you on the next one.
Keep watching Amy Noob!